I've been so selfish and made you believe that you're not good enough, but you're all I need. I'd take you places that you've never been. I would give you the world if you let me try again.
After being awake for close to 21 hours the previous day, we decided to give ourselves a break and sleep until 自然醒. It was already time to check out by the time we left the B&B, and the weather was pretty good that day. The B&B was built on the second level of the owner's garage, and there's a steep flight of stairs to get up to the rooms. It might be a bit inconvenient if you have heavy luggage, but it's still okay for me cause I wasn't the one carrying them up. We have quite a few things planned, and we are supposed to reach Bangkok by the end of the day. We wanted to have a humane sleeping time unlike yesterday's journey, so we decided to skip our chill breakfast in a morning cafe and just have it in the car instead. I was still quite groggy, so I did nothing but fumble with the camera and use some eye power while my husband loads everything into the car. We googled food near me and came to this nearby town to grab some breakfast to eat in the car. Our hotel in Mount Cook emailed us saying that there would be limited food options in the area, so we wanted to make sure that we had some groceries with us before we started on our drive. Regardless of the season, it's good to pack a lip balm with you if you are coming to visit New Zealand. It was spring-summer for us, but the weather was still quite dry and our lips chapped pretty often. We got this one from the local drugstore and it was pretty good. The weather was really good today with clear blue skies, and it felt so much safer driving in daylight rather than the pitch black darkness we had yesterday. If the weather conditions are poor and are not suitable for driving, you can take note of signs like this one to look out for the next nearest shelter. There's usually also a different speed limit for the bendy or windy roads, so do remember to adjust your speed accordingly.
Okay, how many more minutes to?
Our first scenic stop of the day is Lindy's Pass, and the scenery of the drive was absolutely one of the most gorgeous driving routes in the South Island. It was surprisingly windy, and there was also a nice photo spot where people were taking photos for each other, and it was quite sweet. There was plenty of space at the road shoulders for us to park and get down to explore the area. Generally, throughout the whole trip, it was pretty windy, so I think having bangs was not the best idea, and also not having our sunglasses was a major mistake that could have been prevented. Our next stop wasn't too far, just about 200 km away, which would take about 2.5 hours without any stops. We also came across a one-way bridge like this one for the first time, where only one lane of cars can pass through at any time. We would have to wait at the start of the bridge if there were any cars approaching from the opposite direction, and the drivers would usually put their hands up slightly to gesture thanks, and I felt very cool doing that. Next, we visited the Omarama Clay Cliffs. The walk up was pretty manageable, but it can be quite slippery if you don't have proper footwear like me. After passing through the main entrance, the walking trail got increasingly steeper and there were more loose rocks. My toes were slowly falling off after yesterday's Lake Marian hike, so it was too painful to wear my usual decathlon hiking shoes. Since I didn't have a good grip, I couldn't go any further and decided to just sit down and wait for my husband to explore the place on my behalf.
He's one puppy, right? Forever puppies. But he's 1.5 years. So yeah, still puppy. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of
We made our way to Lake Pukaki, and I kind of regret not taking more pictures when the weather was this good. We made a stop at our alternative place of comfort and continued on our drive. It's also at this leg of the journey that we started to have a better view of the snow-capped mountains, and it's a bit mind-boggling but just very amazing that we get to see them even though it's already close to summer. We reached our lunch place and had some sashimi for lunch. I think this is an attraction geared towards mainly tourists, and there were quite a few tour buses that were dropping off people here. Even though it was quite touristy, I think it's still worth a visit because of the great views, and I sent my husband to chop a seat while I go get the sashimi. We quickly realised that one pack of sashimi each wasn't enough, but $13 per pack was a bit expensive and I was a bit reluctant to get seconds. Even though we were squinting our eyes like crazy, the overall vibe of eating by the lake and just chilling and enjoying the breeze was very healing and relaxing. We also started to share seats because more people were coming in. We were still very hungry and decided to get this block which was more value for money and tried to slice it ourselves. Because the wind was quite strong, we couldn't put anything on the table and had to hold on to everything. Honestly, I struggled getting the skin off, 然后也觉得自己很狼狈在这边切鱼。But thinking about yesterday's experience of cooking Maggi mee in the rain gave me a newfound confidence that I can do it. After lunch, we quickly headed back into the car because I needed my post-lunch nap and we had to continue for the rest of our journey to Mount Cook. I was trying to get a very majestic and nice shot of our little car but quickly stopped because we realised that a caravan was heading towards the parking lot where my camera was placed. The uncle and auntie laughed at me and I quickly said sorry and ran back to the car. I was actually looking forward to this Mount Cook photo spot a lot and allocated about 30 minutes just to take pictures. We were camping for times where there were no cars and ran up to the front to get some shots. We were helping another couple to take pictures and they had a telephoto or zoom lens and their pictures turned out to be so good, so remember to prepare them if you want a good shot. Sadly, we didn't have time to complete the things that we planned for today and headed straight to the hotel. We were preparing for a late check-in but almost ended up homeless that night. We cancelled our credit card due to fraud, but I didn't realise that the hotel booking will only be charged a few days before the actual booking. In this case, the hotel staff tried to charge our card on the actual day of our booking and it didn't go through, and because I didn't have data or a phone line, they couldn't reach me and almost wanted to cancel our room and we would have nowhere else to sleep for the night. Thankfully, everything turned out well, so do remember to update your card details on your accommodations booking or just reach and check in before the counter closes to avoid any issues. The room had an ensuite bathroom as well, and I think this was one of the most expensive accommodations throughout our entire New Zealand trip. There was a kitchenette in the room, but the hotel was quite strict about the foods that we can cook here, like no garlic, no curry and no fish, that kind of thing. And we had a view of the snow-capped mountains, but it was blocked by other rooms. I started to get tired of bringing in our luggage in and out every day, so my husband's advice of packing light and bringing fewer jackets and cameras might be right. haven't fully recovered from the day before where we stayed up for 22 hours, so we decided to 自然醒 again. It was already time to check out, so we had to have our breakfast in the car. On hindsight, I think it would be worthwhile to wake up early when you are in Mount Cook or just spend more time here. There are a lot of hikes and walking trails around the area that you can go for, but we didn't manage to go to all of them as we only planned to stay here for one day. After breakfast, we made our way to our first hike of the day, and the drive there was already very scenic. Compared to the Ioraki Court Motel which we stayed at, the Hermitage Hotel seems to be more popular and has an in-house restaurant where you can dine in. It also has a higher vintage point and would most likely offer better views of Mount Cook. And here we are both very excited for the second hike of our trip, which was the Hooker Valley Trek. It's supposed to be a 3-hour return trip, but I think we took close to 4 hours cause I'm generally unfit and my toenails were falling off, so it was quite painful to walk. It was about 10:30 AM and there were a lot of people on the trek. Despite the glaring sun rays, it got windier and colder as we went along, so I kept my decathlon jacket on for the most part. We eventually approached the first of many bridges along the track, and as absurd as it may sound, the winds got so strong that I was a little afraid of being blown away. It's good to hold on to your barang-barang like caps or sunglasses, or keep them in your bag so you have at least one free hand to save yourself if you fall off. The Hooker Valley Trek has clearly demarcated footpaths with amazing views and is definitely one of the must-dos in New Zealand if your body and mind can take the hiking. It's also quite humbling cause whenever I feel very cui, I see all the uncle, aunties and children walking past me like it's nothing. While it makes me feel shitty about my fitness level, it also motivates me to pretend that I'm okay and keep on walking. There's a very nice and modern toilet along the way, and this is the view that you will see while waiting for your turn to pee. Sometimes I feel bad that I'm slowing my husband down, but at the same time I will get angry if he walks too fast, so I'm a bit conflicted. Anyway, we finally reached the Hooker Lake where we can take a break. There's actually something like a class bench there where you can take a rest, but it was quite full, so we decided to go sit on some rocks. We also found the reason why people have low maintenance hairstyles here and why beanies are generally more popular than caps. I might be very swaku, but this was my first time seeing glacial ice and it was just very interesting. We zoned out here for a while and had some snacks before making our way down. I was still alive and my camera didn't get blown away by the wind, so it was worth celebrating. I was extremely tired and a bit defeated by this point, and my toes were hurting so much that I couldn't walk properly. After getting back to the car, the first thing I did was to take off my shoes. My toenail eventually fell off after 2 months. It's very gross, but I really want to show you, so here's a quick snapshot. From here, we can all learn about the importance of proper footwear that fits, but if you have abnormally long toes like mine, then good luck. We rushed down to this place we missed yesterday, right before their closing time.
Thank you.
Even though there were fewer items here, it was less commercialized than the lavender farm we would eventually visit in Wanaka. Wanted to take some videos but forgot to change the camera mode, so here are some photos instead. After yesterday's check-in scare, 我们学乖了 and went down early to Lake Tekapo to check in. As expected, we didn't get charged for the booking due to our cancelled card and we paid again on the spot. A personal reminder to myself to bring the physical cards to be safe, as quite a few places don't accept the virtual cards. Thankfully, my husband had his personal card with him and we had a place to stay tonight. The accommodation was spacious with plenty of space to put your luggage, and the ensuite bathroom was clean with the basic toiletries provided. The room also had a full-height window that faced Lake Tekapo directly, but was partially blocked by some bushes and the driveway. The car park lot was right outside our unit, so it was easy to load our stuff in and out. We accidentally skipped lunch and were super hungry by this point and went to the town centre to have some food. Our host was super friendly and recommended some places, but they were all either fully booked or didn't have any seats left. We decided to dine here, but it was okay only for the price, so not very recommended. It was still very bright at 8 PM and it seems like we had more affinity with sunsets rather than sunrises. We were supposed to visit Mount John Observatory, but it was already closed, so we moved on to our next place, which was Lake Alexandrina. We could see the sun setting on the other side of the hill, so we decided to walk down that path. I couldn't help turning around in the middle of the shots to grab my camera because I was so scared that it will topple over due to the wind. Lake Tekapo has one of the darkest skies in the world, and we stayed up hoping to catch the southern lights. Sadly, we didn't manage to, but I still wanted to go outside for some astrophotography to make it worthwhile. My husband was super tired from driving the whole day, but I was afraid of bugs, so we compromised and he went out with me as I requested. With help from a YouTube hero and some trial and error, I managed to get some pretty shots that I am very proud of. We checked out the first thing the next morning, and unfortunately it was raining and a bit gloomy. Our room doesn't have a kitchen, so we walked around town to find a place for breakfast. We made our way to the Church of the Good Shepherd, but the backdrop was a bit greyish due to the weather. Honestly, I wasn't sure of what I was supposed to do here, so we just walked one round around the church and tried to appreciate the gloomy weather. We got closer to the banks of Lake Tekapo where all the lupins were, and we kind of regret not taking more pictures yesterday when the lake was bluer and clearer. My husband was trying his best to be a good videographer for me, and I wanted to go to the toilet. This was the first paid washroom that we came across, probably because it's near a popular attraction. I was a bit nervous using this for the first time and didn't want to make any wrong move in case I locked myself out from my own paid toilet.
Welcome to Excellent. Please press button to close and lock door.
Okay, guess what? Oh, here.
Okay, very funny.
You can also pay with coins, and if I didn't remember wrongly, you have up to 10 minutes to enjoy your brief respite. We drove randomly around the residential area and saw llamas in people's backyards that they keep as pets. We started on our drive for the day and it slowly got very cloudy and foggy. It's a good experience driving under these conditions because I wasn't the one driving and I brought out my neck pillow to enhance my passenger princess comfort. After resting for a bit, it was gonna be my turn to drive soon, so I started to eat my lunch first. We are both not huge foodies, so we are more than okay to save time and eat in a car like this. We passed by this small town called Ashburton and decided to get down for a short walk. We were both shivering after walking around for less than 5 minutes, so we decided to come into this thrift shop that sold some very old school stuff. We are not coffee people, so we got some hot chocolate to warm ourselves up. I might be swaku again, but this was my first time having marshmallows with hot chocolate and it tasted a bit sweet. After 1.5 hours, we arrived at our next destination, which was Potter's Pass viewpoint, but we could hardly see anything due to the low visibility. We still decided to walk around to see if we can see anything since we are already here. It was cold and windy, but my husband wanted to explore more, so I came back first. He was getting further and further, and I was afraid that he would drop off somewhere, so I decided to join him. It's a lookout point that's supposed to have great views, but I guess we can admire those views from Google instead. And it was quite interesting to walk through such a misty environment. Not far from Potter's Pass viewpoint, we saw this nice rest stop, so we stopped here to take some pictures. It felt like we were in the clouds and it was so mesmerizing to see them move like this. After that, we made our way to Castle Hill. From Castle Hill, it's actually more on the way if you go straight from here to Arthur's Pass, but we actually made a big detour to Kaikoura because I really wanted to kayak with the seals. It was very quiet when we were there because it was close to 5 PM and we had a lot of space to ourselves. It may not seem like it, but these rocks are huge and the rock formations are all very artistic. My husband made an effort to take more pictures of me during this trip because I've been complaining about the lack thereof for the past 10 years. was a pretty easy walk with well-defined paths and not much incline unless you want to climb up to the rocks to have a better view. The entire vibe was very nice and serene, and there were some people having a picnic over there. It was getting close to 6 PM and our Airbnb in Kaikoura is 3.5 hours drive away, so we knew that we were gonna be late for our check-in again today. There was a winding path that led us down the hill, so we took that instead of going back via where we came from, and here we thought that we were taking a photo. Just as we were about to leave, I realized that I lost one of my gloves. To speed things up, my husband went to look for it by himself, and it still amazes me on how he managed to find the glove when the only clue I gave him was I put it beside some rocks. We missed this activity because I didn't have the confidence to walk through the river water, and also because we didn't have enough time. We saw a bushfire along the way, most likely started by a cigarette butt, and we felt really bad to have our Airbnb host wait for us for our late check-in. The room was minimalist and cozy and totally my type. Our host was an uncle with a huge home, and this was one of the rooms that he leased out. Even though this has a shared bathroom, it wasn't uncomfortable at all and was kept very clean. It was already past 12 AM and we a bit 不好意思 to use the bathtub at this time. I think this was the cheapest accommodation for our entire New Zealand trip, so I highly recommend this place if you are in Kaikoura and don't mind a shared bathroom. That's all for part 2, where we explored Lindy's Pass, Clay Cliffs, Lake Pukaki, Mount Cook, Lake Tekapo, Porter's Pass, Castle Hill, and Lake Alexandrina. Thank you so much for waiting for part 2 if you did, and I hope you stay tuned for part 3. As always, thank you for watching and bye!
선물이죠. 지금